Hi guys and girls, welcome to Zilla Cabs. In this week's video we have got a comparison of the Vintage 30 and the M Creamback, two very popular speakers, but two speakers that I love in a 4x12.
Yeah.
I think Vintage 30 is just a classic speaker for a 412, and I think an M Creamback is a little bit of a unsung hero for a 412. So what we thought we'd do is we would load 4 of each into our quite road worn, battered in standard 4x12s. These have been played on many a festival stage, gone all over the place.
I've played a few festivals with that one.
Yeah, you have actually.
Right, so we've got, as Paul said, a Vintage 30, well, 4 Vintage 30s in this cab, 4 M Creambacks in that cab. Vintage 30, very popular with heavy players, but also an all-rounder really, isn't it?
I think it's a kind of everyman speaker, very all-round. You can do loads of stuff. Sometimes it gets a little bit of a bad rep, but that's kind of internet talk.
Yeah, people talk about the mid-range of it, but I don't think it's got an unpleasant mid-range at all. I think that how many they sell of that speakers probably speaks for itself, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the I always think is if you have that much success in selling a speaker, one, it's never going to be a bad speaker. It's sort of like the T75.
Yeah,
you just shift a whole load of them, and then people fight back against it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great speaker, the Vintage 30, and then the M Creamback. It's probably less commonly seen in a 4x12. I don't know if you can get an off-the-shelf 4x12 cab with M Creambacks.
Friedman probably do. I know Friedman use Creambacks. I don't know which one it is in their 412. I know they use M Creambacks a fair bit.
Yeah.
I don't know about Victory as well. I know they use all the Creambacks a lot.
But anyway, it's something that you see less often, isn't it?
Yeah.
A 4x12 with M Creambacks in it, and as you'll hear, it's a sound that's really worth exploring because it's. If we go into the way the speakers sound, I think the M Creamback is a lot smoother sounding than the Vintage 30s. It's the way I would describe it is warm. It's got like less top end basically.
Yeah, it's warm. I think there's a little bit of. This is all that thing about choosing words to describe the sound, but there's a little bit of darkness in there. When I'd say darkness, it's kind of, I don't know, opposite of
lightness.
No, actually no. There's not the. There's a kind of a. It's not as lively,
right?
But
I know what
not
you mean,
not in a bad way, and it's a little bit. Yeah, just dark. I hope that helps. I love it. I think possibly maybe the reason you don't see it in all that many 412s is because we've talked about this in previous videos. The Creambacks came out to not replace, but as almost a higher powered replacement for Greenbacks. Yeah. Now Greenback's going to give you a 100-watt cab in a 412, so you can use either of these heads and not have a problem.
Yeah. I don't think it sounds like a Greenback cab.
No,
though.
I don't know.
And it's got a voice unto itself, as you say. I think when you're playing loud, the M Creamback is quite nice actually in a 412 because it doesn't you get a little bit less ear fatigue with it.
Yeah,
it's something to do with the tame top end, I guess, but you can have it louder and it just seems a little bit easier on your ear.
I think that is sometimes when people say, they often talk about a spiky mid-range with the Vintage 30. I think that's sometimes what they're possibly talking about, a few frequencies that maybe hit your ear a little bit harder. I think it is really nice and kind of smooth for that. Bonus of this one is, with the Creambacks, it's a quieter speaker. 3 decibels less. So usually 4x12s, you're using them in a situation where you're able to push them a bit harder. So you're probably getting up maybe 50, 60 watts, like being able to push the amp louder if you're use that cab on some quite big stages. I know that one's been played on a fair few kind of big stages, so that 3 dB when it's been pushed is going to be more noticeable.
That is something I've noticed with M Creambacks actually. If in a full band mix, that slightly less efficiency coupled with it being a slightly darker speaker, sometimes you might have to push your amp a bit more and it can struggle. I've been in rehearsals with a 50 watt amp and I've been near the edge of where I want to be.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Well, loud band, but something to bear in mind as well if you're playing that sort of thing loud. So yeah, like this is going to sound quite a lot louder not only because of the sensitivity, but also where the frequencies are. It's going to just push it a bit more, isn't it?
So you've gigged this cab quite a lot.
Yep.
Believe it or not, I haven't played a gig since the creambacks came out. So how did you find this speaker with it, like you were saying, a little bit what I call darker, you call a little bit warmer, so a little bit, I guess some people could naively think of it as being muddiness, but it isn't at all.
No, it's not muddiness. No.
How did you find that in a band situation with another guitarist and bassist?
That's right, yeah. Well, yeah, in rehearsals, as I was saying, the M creamback would struggle a little bit in a small room, really loud. But on a stage is where it's a bit more space, and we were fortunate to be using like monitors and stuff as well. So I was just getting the sounds that I like of the creamback coming back to me as loud as I want. But
because I've never had any issues with the Vintage 30 with that cutting through. Or
no way.
Like that. Okay, once we might as well talk about the cabs just briefly. This is our standard 4x12. It's a really kind of simple design. They're 760 wide, 760 tall without the feet, and 360 deep, which is kind of just standard kind of size for a 4x12.
Yeah, it kind of relates to our Fat Boy as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the same
depth and width.
Yeah, same top. So it's the same footprint as what a Fat Boy or a Super Fat Boy is. And the baffle design, it's just a traditional rear-loaded, fixed in. It's not a fixed baffle, but it's screwed in, sort of Marshall-esque.
So there's a little bit of life to it.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
They're all braced, baffle to the back, which makes them a little bit more directional, a bit more control on the low frequencies, and that's really it. There's cosmetic differences with the grills here. Check out our grill cloth video to see that it doesn't make as much difference as you'd think.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, that's
these ones come with scratches. And...
Yeah, they come. These are our vintage reissues.
Yeah. What's the word? Relict.
Relict.
Right, so for the audio, as you can tell, I've got two different heads here. Started off with clean and the Strat, like I usually do, through the Marshall. That's the 100 watt, which I think does a really cool clean sound. And then just pushed that a little bit with some pedals to give like a bluesy kind of break-up sound. And then did like kind of AC/DC kind of break-up with the Marshall. And then where the Marshall left off, the Stiletto picked up and took it pretty full on then with that.
Alright, so as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. We've got loads of videos like this, so if you haven't already, please subscribe. We'd love to have you on the team. Hit the notification bell so you can see when our new videos come out. Leave us comments on any experiences you've got with the two speakers, with the amps, with the cabs, anything, and hit the like button. Alright, enjoy.